Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart, of course, the Bitcoin price action, as well as the Altseason index. And I have a little bit of bonus detail for you. We'll also get into Bitcoin dominance, what it means. I had a request to talk about that. So let's get started with fear and greed. And today, the price action, guys, we got back above 70,000. I want to say even 71,000 if memory serves. And so I would not be surprised to see greed go to extreme greed in the next day or two should this price action hold. I've talked about how we were in this downtrend and then all of a sudden we were making higher lows and higher highs, and that could be signaling a reversal of the trend. And so far that does look to be true, that the trend is reversing. I do want to see greed hang out here higher for longer. And part of the reason for that is you can see when greed is hanging out higher for longer, accumulating, if you will, like it did in November, December of 2020, that was when Bitcoin was also getting ready to go above the former all-time highs, and it never looked back. So here, the price was getting just above, I think it was like 17,000. We'll check on that. It was getting above that price till eventually in March, April, getting all the way to 21,000. However, inversely, drinking some water, when fear and greed, when it just spikes in greed and comes down, that tends to be a local top, and that was a mid-cycle top. Looking at that on the chart, that mid-cycle top, that one singular spike in greed, that was right here, and it went up really fast and then down. Here is when greed was accumulating, just like I showed you guys before we broke past this all-time high in 2017 to new highs around 65,000. We had a 50%-ish sell-off to the 30,000s before going up to around 69,000 was the very peak in November of 21. So we did just get above those all-time highs, and we are getting above them again. There's something important I want you to watch for on the chart to make sure that this isn't a fake out move. And hopefully, in my opinion, I think there is more bullishness going into the markets. Going over to the Altseason index. Shout out blockchaincenter.net for all these wonderful charts. So we've been way up into Altseason in late 2017, early 2018. This peak right here from December to May of 21, that's what I really remember as the Altseason, and that's what the Bitcoin dominance chart shows as well. There were some good alt seasons in here, or good alt price action, but most that I remember, at least for the alts available on Coinbase, that's when these were blasting off. We also talked about a change in trend a while ago, how the Altseason index, we were getting lower lows, lower highs, and all of a sudden things started turning and we were getting higher highs, higher lows. And guys, look at what's going on. So we didn't even really get that bad of a higher low somewhere under this 25 line that you see here for Bitcoin. Instead, this looks like it's getting ready to shoot straight up. So I am wondering if a big move is coming soon. Right now, we are testing this former high on the Altseason index, so keep an eye on this. I'm wondering if things are just getting ready to blast off and go vertical. You never know. I'm not saying to take this as financial advice, but if you're kind of sitting on the sidelines and you're looking at an altcoin or two and it still has decent value, you rather have skin in the game now than never, because should any of the altcoins, and there's no guarantee, but should any of the altcoins you pick do a 10x, trust me, you'll regret not getting in. But again, there's no guarantees to any of that. So also, guys, I want you to notice, look what happens after each halving within the next year or two, how violently Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin goes up. It doesn't take too much longer. So I am looking at this next about 6 to 18 months, somewhere in that range of possibly, should patterns repeat, which they never have to. Things are always different. We had a new all-time high before the halving, so patterns change all the time. But I am wondering if we stick to somewhat of a similar time frame in between each. going over to the Bitcoin dominance cycle. I wanted to take a quick look at this, and I'll probably come back and reference this. Here's a key thing to know. Typically, when Bitcoin dominance goes up, and we'll take a look at that on the chart, usually altcoin price, not so great. However, when Bitcoin dominance goes down, regardless of the Bitcoin price, altcoins tend to go up too. Now, the one caveat is I have seen when Bitcoin dominance goes down and price goes down that a lot of alts can go down, and there are thousands of alts. So, of course, there's going to be many exceptions to the rules as we go on. But typically, when Bitcoin dominance goes down hard, that is alt season, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a bit. Now, starting off with Bitcoin and the price action. I like to go by the weekly time frame. You can see here we're in the weekly. You can click the 5-year, which will show in 1 week intervals. I like to go by this time frame personally when I look at what's the overall picture or painting, if you will, for me to interpret of what a chart is doing. Now, I do have it on the Heikin-Ashi candles, and with the Heikin-Ashi, I want you to notice something. See this gray line? The gray line is pretty close to, hydration. Make sure you hydrate. The gray line is close to where the prior all-time high was in 2021. Okay, right around here. We got that peak. I have this trend line going from a couple of these peaks. It doesn't necessarily have to mean anything. But anyways, I hope you notice how we have not had a weekly candle stay above this prior all-time high yet. I am waiting for that to signal that this is truly the beginning of the end. Now, we do have a buy signal on this doji candle, and this is a strong candle moving upwards. I'm curious to see what next week's is, but look at the candle body so far. I'm not as concerned about the candle wicks, but just the body, where it's opening and closing. And when we get a candle body to open and close completely above, I believe that's going to be go time. Now, here's why I'm referencing that. So I have fibs drawn from prior cycles before and the break above it. The yellow line here is when Bitcoin does break above the prior all-time highs from the cycle before. So you can see here, the gray line moving horizontally, that was the peak of 2017. Once the price action broke above the prior all-time high, that is where I put these yellow lines. And that is why you see the yellow line before the halving, which was the first time that ever happened. But watch what I'm talking about here, guys. As soon as we get a candle body closing very well or completely above, that is go time for the next alt season. So you have to be ready and hopefully be in with whatever altcoins you have and looking to take profit up here. I'll cross-reference the Bitcoin dominance chart for you too. But once we get above, look at this time frame. We'll take this ruler, measure it out. We can go from either candle here, but let's go from this one. Whether you were getting Bitcoin when it was 19,000 or 25,000 or any altcoins at that time, we're just going to go to when Altseason was just about finishing, which was late April. We'll go late April, early May. That was about 126 days. You see that in the blue box there, 126 days, roughly 4 months. So from the first Bitcoin candle, the Heikin-Ashi candle breaking above and staying firmly above the all-time high, showing that we are breaking above that former trend, that we are now in new territory, it took about 4 months to get there. Well, what happened before? Again, I have this yellow line to show when we broke above prior all-time highs, and you can see that gray line horizontally moving across. Now, something you notice, kind of similar here in 2017, that when Bitcoin did break above that prior all-time high, it went down. So, yes, it broke above it, but you can see the wick, kind of like what we've been experiencing lately. The wicks got above, but the candle bodies, not so much, maybe a little bit. But as soon as the candle body did, and then confirmed it, so you can go from any of these three, really, but let's go from these two. As soon as most of the candle body firmly was closing above, then we had about, let's go to this one right here. I feel like that's fair. So to late 2017, was truly when Altseason was happening, early 2018. You can see we had a bit more time. So 240 days, that was about 6 months. Okay, so just going by the last two cycles, we were 6 months away as soon as we broke with Bitcoin. You can look at this in one of two ways. We had 6 months, if you want to go by patterns, of course. We had 4 months. So you can go one of two ways. When we have a firm candle by, sorry, that sounded wrong. When we have a firm closure of a candle body closing above the prior all-time highs, do we then have 2 months? Is this going to go in a pattern like 6, 4, 2? Or is that 4 to 6 kind of our range? And that's more what I would believe. But again, doesn't matter what I believe. Doesn't matter what prediction I make, because none of us truly know what the heck's going to happen. I've shown these lines before, and if you guys have watched my videos, I'm just going to give this quick spiel. But the green line here is the average from the time it takes from a break of the new all-time high to the next peak. Okay, I'll explain what that means. So yellow line, vertical line, we've established that's the break of the former all-time high. We had this yellow line break of the former all-time high. The average time it takes to get from that yellow line to the next peak, the very, very peak, from every cycle, again, the break of the former all-time high to the next peak. Now, the very peak was here, even though Altseason was here. So do note that was something different last cycle, but the peak was here. When you take that average from the break of the new all-time high to the eventual all-time high, the average is about 300 days, which puts us roughly at the end of this year, beginning of next year. When you average out the amount of time it takes to go from the halving, that's the white line here, and we can go over to the rainbow chart. If you take the average from any of the halvings to the very peak in that cycle, that amount of time is a little longer. That's closer to your 4-year cycle that people often reference. That is that line out here. When you take that average, that puts us in August of 25. So I have wondered if we are going to be in a range here. However, things are different this time. We had a new high before the halving. And we are possibly getting ready to have a candle body close above. So maybe you're wondering, let's give ourselves a couple weeks here. Heck, why not? Let's give ourselves a couple weeks, and we will go a few months out, just going off the patterns that I just showed you before, when the candle body firmly closes above. So here's where we are this week. Let's go out 1, 2, heck, even 3 weeks. Why not? Maybe it'll take 3 weeks to get a candle body to close more or less above the prior all-time high and truly get into bullish territory. Well, if we were to just go 2 months out, which is about 60 days, it seems crazy. You can see the date at the bottom here. 60 days. Let me go back to that. 63 days, whatever. That puts us August this year. Is the very top of Bitcoin going to be August of this year? Again, if we go 6, 4, and now 2 months. I don't think so, but again, it doesn't matter what I think. We got to take what the markets give us. We also have 6 months and 4 months. So might we get a range in there, something like maybe something around 5 months. Okay, so you can just take 5 times 30, that's 150. Where would 150 days put us about? That's November of this year. Let's say it's a full 6 months again. Again, that's around 180 days. That would put us in December. Getting close to where this halving mark is. Where, again, if you take the average from the time it takes, or sorry, not the halving, the break of the prior all-time high. Apologize, I misspoke. When you take the average amount of days from the break of the previous all-time high to the next peak, we ended up 300 days on average after the break of the former all-time high. By the time we get a complete candle body close, maybe it's in a few weeks, maybe it's in a month, even if you take that average or at least stretch it out, we've had to wait 6 months before. Guys, I just showed you 6 months kind of puts us close to this area too. And so I am wondering if maybe that's another data point to show that maybe a top is coming sooner than we think. Now, again, I don't know what the price action is going to do, but it is another pattern to consider. And I myself, I don't base my strategies just off patterns. For me, it's more of a fun thing to look at. My strategies when I buy, I've shown you guys I have on these moving averages where there is good time to dollar cost in, average in, and find deep value. And I also have this buy sell signal indicator on. You can even go to the monthly. And if you were to just buy the monthlies after obviously having a good time to buy, here we're at the 100 moving average, here was the 50-month moving average and a buy signal, a reversal of the trend. Those you can tend to find good times buy, but it is really hard to time the bottom. And let me tell you, yes, this looks great, but even when we were going down and we had the whole FTX collapse, maybe you were looking at buying at 17,000 and all of a sudden you see this candle wick, it spikes up to 24. That's kind of a mental trick that gets played on people as they're like, well, God, it was just at 15, 17,000 and now it's at 24. Why should I buy? That's when you have to make your plan and make sure you trust your plan and you're not just winging it. I know I've been here, guys. In 2017 is the time I've been here. If you're just winging it and doing your best to buy low, sell high, it's not going to happen. That is why I try to hydrate and why I try to trust my plan, write out a plan and trust it and believe in what's going on. Now, there's no guarantees in investing at all, whether it's crypto or stocks. There's never guarantees. And that's why I try to dollar cost average in more heavily when we're at these stronger values. And base case, after a big bear market, I hunt those monthly buy signals and those big moving averages on the monthly time frame. But the weekly is my favorite. The weekly is the one I trust the most, especially when we're under the 200-week moving average. So we have that. I wanted to go over to Bitcoin dominance because I promised I'd talk about it. And when we have Altseason, again, let's go to this picture. Bitcoin dominance goes down. Again, price, whether it's sideways, up or down, that can be good for alts. Now, if everything's going down, not always, and it depends. But remember what I said about late 2017? Look at Bitcoin dominance here. In December 2017, you would have had to have been there, and I was there, guys. It was crazy. Crazy time for a young investor to be getting into the crypto market. And I'm glad I did. I talked to a person at a bar in June of 2016 or August, sometime like that. And we were just talking, new person, and this guy said to me, he's like, you need to buy Bitcoin. I was like, I've heard of that. What is it? And we got to talking, and I'm so glad I went down this rabbit hole. And it has been some rabbit hole. Anyways, late 2017, when Bitcoin dominance tanked, like it did here, to the low 40 percentile, and I think here maybe it went down deeper than it was maybe supposed to. You can see this trend line that goes across. This is where we settled in last cycle. This was Altseason right here. That is when so many alts just went 10, 20, 50, 100x. It was crazy. When Bitcoin dominance got back up to these levels, now I want you to see this. See how it made this peak right here? And then it only got above it one more time. Dominance slowly went down, and Bitcoin dominance went down here in May 2020 to September 2020. Let's go back over to the dominance chart here. So look at that, May to September. We can look at some different altcoins too to see what they were doing. Again, not altcoins will run there, but there's a little Altseason here that you just saw, and then the real Altseason, it was right here. Late March to early May, that was truly Altseason. Even kind of back here. Again, remember, we're looking at 4 to 6 months, and this was about 4 to 6 months in this range here. Now, when it's really Altseason and things are going 20x, if it's anything like it was here or here, you have 2 weeks to 2 months. I'll even say 2 weeks to 6 weeks. It happens fast. So if you are buying altcoins now, set your price targets and have a plan. I go over how to draw fibs and what price targets to look for. And you can set a sell target a little bit underneath that fib. Don't get too greedy. Not financial advice, but I wouldn't recommend it. But you can have a plan. I wanted to look here at when was this? May to August of 2020. Let's take a look at one of my favorite altcoins, Chainlink. Where were we in May to August of 2020? So May right here. May to August. Man, what a move that was. And I'm sure people thought it was done here. Went up 400%. That's crazy. Now, even after it did that whole move, look how it got to 17. Eventually, it did another 3x. It got to 51. But we still haven't even entered that territory yet. I wonder what Ethereum did from May to August of 2020. So May to August. March, April, May, right here. Okay. Yeah, it's right after COVID, of course. So May to August. So Ethereum went from 200 to 4. God, guys, you remember when Ethereum was in the hundreds? I remember seeing Ethereum be in the 2 to 400 level around, it was 2017, like in here. I remember this, and when it went up, I was like, oh, dang, I missed it. And then when it went down, I was like, well, why the hell would I want this crap? But then eventually I came to my senses and I started accumulating over here. But that's the mind tricks the markets will play on you, is when it goes down and tanks. You're like, why the hell would I want this crap? And really, that's the time you might want to consider accumulating more. Anytime you feel that shock when you look at the charts, or you feel that shock, whether it's good or bad, when you look at your holdings, that might be a signal to buy or sell. I remember this time in here vividly. January, early January, is like January 8th of 2018. I remember when the altcoin market frickin' tanked like 50% within weeks. It was nuts. It was even more than that. And that bad feeling in my gut that was happening. Now, right before that, I remember this crazy feeling that I took for granted. All of a sudden, my holdings were going from the thousands to tens and 20s and et cetera, thousands of dollars. I was like, holy shit. And then the opposite happened. It goes quick. And I also remember then here, the great feelings. I was smarter that time. I knew what to expect. And that's why I'm doing this channel, because I'm hoping to help more of you. Again, no guarantees. Hopefully that happens again. We'll see. But when we had the FTX collapse in November, which affected Bitcoin more, as we can see, when that happened, I remember the candle where it just tanked that day, and the shocked feeling. And in my head, I knew it's like, now's the time. Now's the time where I have to start accumulating and buying in. That is a buy signal right there. Because we already had a pi cycle high-low indicator, a low indicator. Let me show you guys that. I don't know if I've shown you this. Sorry, I'm talking in circles here. I realize it. I'm just trying to share info, help us all out. So pi cycle high-low. This is pretty close and pretty good at showing when we have the highs and lows. Hopefully this flashes again. We'll see. But here, a lot of people are calling for the bottom because of this. And then this happened. And so, in my opinion, the bottom was in, but this was a black swan event at the bottom. And that's why it went down another 9-10%. Now, we touched this pi cycle high line here. And not only do we have to touch it, and right now that line's at around 85,000, but for that signal to flash, we have to get well above it like we have before, and there's no guarantees this signal will flash again. But do watch out for that signal. Just something I wanted to show you guys. Let's take that off, and let's add in our buy sell signal back on there. Okay, I wanted to show you guys something else. Let's go back to Bitcoin dominance. Okay, like I showed you here, as soon as Bitcoin dominance kind of made that high, we only went back to it before going down. Bitcoin dominance made this high. It wicked here around 57%. And that is really close to this trend line I've here drawn from this base, as well as all this, I would call it price action crap, accumulation, whatever you want to call it, from back here. And I'm like, you know what? And it even went down, hit that line here with this. You can kind of see it. Let's take this off again. Sorry. It's cluttering. You can kind of see the red lines went down there too, right in here. And so because we have that trend line from there and this diagonal trend line that intersects this peak from the prior highs before, that's why my base case for Bitcoin dominance has been around this 57, 58 level. Maybe that's all we get. Maybe all we get is 57%, and then we round off and sell off. I don't know. But I'm wondering if that's what's going to happen. I know some people are calling for Bitcoin dominance to get to, 60, 70%. I mean, 60% would be right down here. Maybe. But as you can see, we are on this downgrade. So, maybe we do get to 70% again. I don't know. And if we do get there, then I would guess that the 4-year cycle or that August 25 area would become more likely. But when I look at this, guys, I mean, do you see this with me? Almost like this is rounding over. But again, when it goes down, it can go down sharply like it did back here. Here, what a violent time. August 2020, that's when we had that first mini alt season, which you saw was great for alts back then. And then we peaked up again. Probably not the greatest time for a lot of altcoins. And then, boom, that's the time to sell. Okay, and I will sound the alarm. And I guarantee you, on my channel, which I don't get paid for and I don't care, I just like doing this to share information and, for entertainment. Plus, it's fun. It's fun to do, and it's a way for me to check my own plan personally. But I will be sounding the alarm, and I'm sure if Bitcoin dominance does anything similar to like what it did back here, I'm going to make a lot of enemies when I'm saying I have sold all my crypto. I am not staying in. And could altcoins go up further? Sure, why not? But from the last 2 cycles, that doesn't look likely. Okay, so going back over to this chart here, when Bitcoin dominance is going down, that is what you got to watch for. In 2017, I do remember that time it was mid-December. Bitcoin already topped in mid-December. Let me show you that. Let's go back to Bitcoin. We'll take a look at a couple different scenarios. Bitcoin already topped here in mid-December. Remember, Altseason went to about early January. And so that was a time when dominance and price went down. And that was Altseason. So put a check mark next to this one. That was Altseason. 2021, let's scooch on over. Scooch. Bitcoin prices is really like Altseason was in this area right here. Price was going up. It went down a little bit like right at the end, but overall, I remember Altseason being very strong in here too. So it was going up and sideways. So here and here, you can put a check next to either. But I guess at the end there, when some really went up, is sideways too. So, the big thing is just look for dominance to be going down. That is one big thing for you guys to consider. Last thing, well, not the last thing, who am I kidding? Another thing to watch for, I've talked about this too, the tether dominance. And we have this trend line. Now, I like to say trend lines are only good for as long as they're good for, but god dang, you can't ignore this. So they mark local tops, whether it's the true top, like in 2017 for Bitcoin. You can see the date at the bottom, January 1st. Okay, 2019 mid-cycle top, that was around June of 2019, July. The COVID dump, which was obviously February right there. We take a look at this on the rainbow chart. This was the COVID dump when we touched. This was the mid-cycle top, that is 2017 top. Let's keep looking at this. The first Bitcoin top, look how we hugged that trend line. And if I throw on the weekly RSI, the RSI is tanked. It is way down. Once it starts to get back above 50 on the RSI, that was the time to get out. I'm curious what it's going to look like now. Second Bitcoin top, look at that. We touched it. We just touched this line before, but look at this, guys. We have a weekly sell signal. So are we getting ready to go down this trend line again? It's kind of looking strong, like maybe that's going to happen. I'm going to throw off this buy-sell signal. You guys saw that weekly sell signal. Let's throw on this RSI on the weekly. I was worried it was going to get back above 50, but look at this. The RSI is going back down. And how deep will it go? I don't know. Maybe it's going to go down even deeper. But here's what I was showing you. When we had Altseason and when that was done, you can see the RSI. We were trending up, and as soon as it hit 50, look at that date. May 10th, 2021. Look at down here when Altseason was done, touching the line. May 10th, 2021. Look at Bitcoin when it was turning over. Sorry, I'm off log scale. I know it's making it look a little weird. May 10th, 2021. That's when we were firmly breaking down. Okay. Oh, I put it on the RSI. I'm an idiot. I was like, why is it looking different? Because I did it down here. Get out of here, RSI. So anyways, just something else to consider. There's no silver bullet for us to see truly what's going on. That's why we have to consider a bunch of different factors. Again, I'm showing you, the rainbow chart. We found this pattern on how the price goes up. Every halving, it goes up a zone, and it did again. It's also starting to go down a zone each time. And so that's why I'm looking at this orange band. We're up in this high red band, the second red band, the upper part of the orange band. That's why I'm looking at this orange band as the peak, in my opinion. So just going over, let's say the top is December of this year. Look where that orange band is, 140 to 180K. If the top is, let's say by August next year, 25, like I said, would be the end of our range, kind of that 4-year cycle part where we take the average from the halving to the next peak. That orange band's at 174 to 223K. And to be honest, I would prefer this. I don't mind waiting longer, accumulating more, getting a logarithmically higher price, because if that happens, that means that we're going to get an even bigger, better alt season. I don't mind if this happens. A lot of people will be shaken out by then, but should we repeat that pattern? That's something to look for. Now, going over to the chart and looking at possible price targets. Let me finish here. I promise. When I draw a fib, which you can grab it right from here, you draw a fib from the prior high, from the prior high to the next low, and of course drag it out. So I started the fib here, that's why I got that blue dot. I drew it all the way over here. Okay, so we went from the prior high to the low. When I'm taking a look at price action between the high and low, of course with longer time frames, bigger time frames, I'm on log scale. It helps me. It helps make sense of the charts for me a little bit more. And when you are looking between those prices, put it on log scale. However, when you are looking at price targets above, take your fib off log scale. And here's why. You can see these extensions and how we honored it. Look at this 1618. When Bitcoin came above it, it had a little stall out moment and came back down to it around that 30,000. And where did Bitcoin top out? It topped out, at least in that alt cycle, around this 3618 at 63,000. Went above a little to 65, but just a wick. So this fib, this 3618 fib extension was really close to calling the top. Now maybe you're asking, what about 2017? What did 2017 show? Man, we exceeded expectations. Exceeded. And same before, exceeded expectations. Now again, and we can add more fibs on. So if you go to your fib and you go down here, you can add more extensions. Okay, so we have the 3618, the 4236, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's add another one. Let's add, oh God, it's like highlighting everything for me. Let's add 8618. I'm just curious. Let's see where that ends up. Background, let's turn this down. Oh, here, it's already putting it up there. 86, that's how crazy this movement was. And so that puts us at around 10,000. I'm just playing with this now. Let's do, that was a big move we had there. Let's do 15. Yeah, that was closer to where we were. Again, I'm just playing with things here. Okay. The 15618. That's how crazy it was. Now, obviously, you can add all these fibs, the 2618, the 3618, or you can go 4236. You can add a bunch of them, like I just showed you here. But yeah, that was around 15 times higher. Now, again, that's why we have the rainbow chart, though, is because we have diminished returns. When we're on a log scale, it goes up by tens. And I'm not saying it has to follow perfectly, and I try to combine as much data as we can. But we do have diminished returns. Now, when I say diminished returns, it doesn't mean that we can't get amazing gains and make a ton of money. Diminished returns is not a bad thing. We can't expect the 2000x here or the 15x here, or maybe even the, where was it back here? The price was around 10, or even the 6x here. Maybe we're only going to get like a 2 or 3x from our current price. That's what diminished returns mean. It's not a bad thing. So when we went down from the, let's say a 15x there, whatever it was, to where was the price here? Like a 20x. God, maybe a 15, 20x. Let's measure that out. Why am I being lazy? I'm trying to do math in my head here. Who am I kidding? So 1700%. Okay, yeah, 17x. What are we going to get this time? Scroll down on the right side to view more of it. What are we going to get this time? Another 17x, or maybe we just get, let's go down. Let's look at that range. We have this 1618 here. I have to make sure we're off log. But maybe we only get like a 7, 8, 9x, somewhere around 170,000. Let's make sure our fib's off log. It's a good way to, it's not, it wasn't off log. Okay, now let's see what some of these marks are. Look at this, guys. We just talked about these ranges on the rainbow chart. The 2618 at 154 and the 3618 at 207. I think those are both great targets. I really do. I would be eyeing this 2618, in my opinion, as the most likely target. In my opinion, I wonder if we could get above it. Sure, but if we did get to that level, where would that put us? At around an 8x, and you saw last time we had a 17x, 1700%, 17x. Okay, to me this makes sense. It's about half, and that doesn't mean we still can't make amazing money. But that's a way to look for price targets. Again, if you go to any altcoin, draw a fib from the prior high to low. Here's the fib guy right here. You just click and drag high to low, and then make sure you take your fib off log scale. And then you can find some possible price targets. Okay? 130. Now again, there's no guarantees they'll hit these. You can look at other extended ones. And if you guys think this is BS and it doesn't work, I'll show you. Here's a fib from the prior high to low for NVIDIA. And let me put this on auto. And what do we see here? The 1618 at 491, it's over there. Okay, the 1618 at 491. Look at the price action running into this and then finally breaking out. Now again, probably didn't draw my fib perfectly. But even here, hit this next fib, came down, and then recently hit this fib, came down, okay? And it looks like it's getting ready to go through again. And I can't help but wonder, I know it's a crypto video, maybe NVIDIA is going to get up to this 1100 number. We'll see. But you can't ignore the fact that we've hit these fibs and honored them. And that's why I also throw on the moving averages as well. What do you notice? Comes down, hits that 20. Comes down the 50. Strong moving average to go to if things are still bullish. Went under here to the 100. Good accumulation went up. So I've seen this play out so many times before. Again, it's not going to hit exactly. These charts, the price action, it's all organic. So we have to be flexible. It's not going to ever hit exactly like we want it. But again, I hope you guys are seeing and noticing how I'm looking for good areas to buy and looking for good areas to sell. I truly hope these videos help you guys make some good money. I truly do. Because it can be game-changing money, whether it's getting, turning hundreds of dollars into thousands of dollars so you can afford rent, a better car, or maybe help with your mortgage. I don't know what your guys' situation is, but I truly do hope, sincerely, I'm not making any money from this. I'm just sharing because I'm a nice guy and it's benefited me and I want to share it so it benefits you. I truly hope this helps people. If all of a sudden crypto and, let's say the whole thing in Iran, the president dying in the helicopter crash, and let's say, they find out Israel did it, something crazy. I don't want to get into politics, just hypothesizing. But all of a sudden World War III starts, of course. All the markets could tank. There's no guarantee. We never know when the bottom's going to fall out. But, should we get another cycle like we have before, then we may be getting closer to great profit-taking times. And that's what I'm hoping for. A lot of it seems to line up with when the elections are going to be, which is kind of interesting. Let's not forget about that. We have our election coming up in the United States around this time. What's crypto and stock market price action going to do? Is it going to rip up until then and then sell off after? Insert whatever narrative you will about whoever gets elected if that happens. But anyways, been talking over 40 minutes. I apologize. I try to do this as quick as I can. So I truly hope you guys are enjoying this video. I'll put out the Bitcoin mining stock video on Wednesday. That's one I enjoy. There's still some great value in Bitcoin mining stocks. And yeah, I hope you guys got a lot out of this. If you haven't already, this is something I've done. When I review my videos, I have to speed it up. I truly do try my best to talk faster. And I'm not trying to talk fake. I'm trying to be as genuine with you guys as possible. But I have noticed my videos are more tolerable speeding it up. You won't hurt my feelings. I recognize the problem. I know I ramble. I'm doing my best. I'm just so used to being a consultant and sharing the expertise in my field, psychology. And yeah, I'm trying my best. Again, I apologize. You will not hurt my feelings if you watch my videos in 1.5 or 2x speed. It sounds almost normal, which is really sad. I don't know if I maybe ate too many marijuana edibles in my past, but in my brain, I think I'm talking fast. When I listen to myself, I'm like, oh boy, you got to speed it up, buddy. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Take care.